From my own experience as an editor of 3 collections and now as a series editor for 2 book series, I recognize that many authors underestimate the time it will take to go from idea to publication for a book. And part of that is that there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that may not be transparent and visible. And so often if we are working with an author or editors on a book idea, there's that initial conversation where we're seeing, is it a good fit for the series? Do we want to ask the author or editor to invest more time in telling us more about their idea? And that takes us a few weeks to talk through, give them feedback, invite a longer proposal. That longer proposal takes some time for the author or editor to write. We then review it. We talk with critical friends of the series to think through, is it definitely a good fit? If it's for the stylist series, because there are other people involved in the decision-making process, we also might go back and forth with the authors a few times, because if Peter Felton and I are really committed to a book for the stylist series, we want the proposal to be successful when it goes to stylist. And so we will work with the authors or editors to make it as strong as it can be before we send it on to our stylist contacts. Even once the manuscript has a contract attached to it, the authors still or editors are still working on producing the text. There's often some internal work that they're doing with critical friends to offer feedback. And eventually they will get to a point where they're comfortable sharing the full manuscript with us as series editors. Even though they've already likely gotten critical friend feedback, we will also send it out for review. That is part of how we offer a peer-reviewed book series. And it also is another space where if there are any questions about the ideas in the book or ideas that might reach more people with a little bit of massaging, a little bit of fine-tuning, that round of feedback will smooth over those sections, offer some clear ideas for the authors or editors to work with as they then revise and send the revised version back to us. That process alone can take anywhere from a year to a year and a half, depending on how developed the idea is and the manuscript is when the authors or editors first approach us. Even when we get the revised manuscript, it still has to go through copy editing. It still has to go through page proofs and layout. And at both of those stages, there is multiple hours, really weeks worth of work, as our managing editor is very closely reading line by line to make sure that the work that's produced is as the best representation of the authors involved. And then any adjustment in layout also can add time to the timeline. So pull-out quotes we see a lot. They can call attention to an idea, but each time there's a pull-out quote, that means that that's a unique layout. It's not automatic in the process, and our managing editor has to take time to look at that page and every page that comes after it to make sure that the rest of the formatting still makes sense. And many of those elements add to, particularly in our open access series, what can define a collection or make it really compelling or interesting or unique. So we are committed to supporting that, but it does take time to move through those processes. And then, of course, there also has to be an awareness that life also can intervene. So sometimes authors or editors have things happen that they just didn't anticipate. And we have to, as humans, recognize that there needs to be space for that as well. So when we are giving projections on when a publication might eventually come out, we also try to build in a little bit of buffer so that when those life moments happen, and they always do, that there's room to adjust for them.